You're listening to C103's Cork Today podcast. Phone and text lines are currently closed.
We're off to the Health Hub Times Square in Ballincollig where Anneliese Dressel joins us. Good afternoon to you, Anneliese.
Good afternoon, Patricia.
And before we get into questions that are pouring in for you, you want to mention an eye test that you're doing at the shop. Is it this Thursday?
This Thursday coming. So we've done this before. There's a nutritional therapist has this fantastic machine that she can use to measure the level of damage done at the back of the eye from UV light and blue light. So it's a great kind of predictor of degeneration, including not just macular now, but all types of degeneration. And it's €25, and there's a few appointments left. If people want to come, just ring the shop and we'll book them in.
OK, well done, and good luck to everybody attending that. Now, Sheila in Killarney was on to us. Has Anneliese heard of a product called Symaproof probiotic, which she recommended? It's very expensive.
Yes, so it is, I think, Simproof, I think, is the name of it. And it is very expensive, Patricia, and it's basically kind of like a live probiotic. So it comes in liquid form and the probiotics in it are live. We don't stock it here in the shop because we really don't have for the fridge space for it. In terms of feedback from people who've tried it, some people swear by it and some people don't get a good result. The main issue with probiotics is that they're not going to fix everything. So if you have a disruption of bacteria in your gut and you take a probiotic that contains the ones that will bring it back into balance, you'll see a great benefit. But if they don't have the ones that you specifically need for your gut, you probably mightn't notice any benefit at all. And the same goes for the other one that people are recommended to take a lot, which is Alflorex. That has been, for some people, has been a life changer. But in my own experience, it can work well for people who get a lot of IBS diarrhea, but it doesn't do much for anybody else. And actually, lots of other probiotics have just equally as good a benefit. So I'd say to the person, if they wanted to give it a try, certainly it's a good quality product. It's a very good quality product. But if it doesn't fix your issues, then it's, don't continue on it because if it's not working after a month, it's not going to work.
OK, it's a sad text in from Sarah. My sister is going through an eating disorder at the moment. What would be the best vitamins and supplements that you'd recommend for her to take? She has had bloods done recently and they're all OK at the moment.
Well, that's fantastic if the bloods are OK, because a lot of the time the calories are so restricted that nutrients can be restricted as well. So generally a multivitamin is probably the most basic level. I would, and also because people with eating disorders, generally their digestion has been massively impacted due to the calorie restriction. It's very difficult for them to kind of digest and absorb because their bodies are out of doing it. So taking a multivitamin that would be in liquid form, like the Oxylent is one I would highly recommend for this because it's in a sachet, it's very low calories to no calories, so it's not an issue for people with eating disorders to take it. It's very, very well absorbed in the body, so they'll have their best chance of getting those nutrients into them. Now, the only thing it doesn't contain is iron, so that would be something that could be an issue as well for people with an eating disorder if they're restricting meat, for example. The other thing that's hugely restricted is the fats, the omega-3 fats would be really important, but it's such a difficult one, Patricia, because generally, depending on the type of eating disorder, fat phobia is a big part of that, and calories, they don't like to take fats in because they're high in calories. And the only way I could describe it, I suppose, with the brain, if you don't have the good fats going into a brain for an eating disorder, the side of the brain that controls the eating disorder, which is almost like its own separate personality telling you what to do, that becomes bigger, and you're not feeding the side of the brain that, brings it back into balance. So it becomes more and more difficult to break an eating disorder the more and more you starve the brain of nutrients. So I think a fish oil would be very important if you could get that in. A capsule, and I always stress that they're not high in calories. A capsule would have less than 10 calories in there and can make a massive difference in terms of your ability to kick the disorder and to keep the mood up.
Okay, good advice, and Sarah, good luck to your sister. It's a tough journey, not just for the person going through the eating disorder, but for their loved ones looking on as well. Okay, somebody's looking for your advice on Revive Active. What do you make of Revive Active? Is it good?
Yeah, fantastic product. It really is. It's got fantastic nutrients in there and some very expensive ones in there as well. So I could highly recommend it. The only thing I would say is that it's not always the right thing for everybody. For example, there's an awful lot of coenzyme Q10 in there, arginine, citrulline. These are great for energy for people who are doing an awful lot of exercise, and they're also brilliant for heart health as you get older. But for a 30-year-old that's not doing a lot of exercise, you're probably spending a lot on nutrients that your body doesn't necessarily need. So other multivitamins could be useful. But we recommended the Revive Active a lot after COVID for people, and people did find it very, very good, and they swear by it, so I can recommend that for sure.
We had a lot of people coming back in, coming to us saying the same thing. Okay, Liz is on saying, my nails are very thin and they keep cracking in the middle. What would you recommend? I've tried oils, etc., but having no luck so far.
Okay, so the first thing I would normally ask is, do you get heartburn, and do you find it hard to digest meat? Do you feel it sits there forever? Because we need a good, strong, healthy stomach acid to break down our protein. Most protein digestion actually happens in the stomach, and you need good HCl for that. So sometimes if people's stomach acid is poor, that could be as they get older, it could be genetic, or if people are on an acid blocker, for example, for heartburn, then they mightn't be breaking their proteins down. And one of the first places that will show that will be in the nails. They'll become brittle and they'll become weak. So in cases like that, I normally recommend a digestive enzyme that has got some HCl in there to support your own stomach acid. And there'll also be protein digesting enzymes in it as well that will help you break down your protein. Not to be taken if you've got any inflammation in the stomach like ulcers, or if you've got very painful heartburn. But that generally will sort nails out at the root of the problem. Biotin is another fantastic nutrient for hair and nails. You need to take it in quite a high strength. So I know that Macanta have a very good one. Solgar do one at a very high strength one as well. And you need to wait about 6 weeks, because you'll notice it'll be the new nail coming up that will be good. And it takes about 6 weeks for the nail to get up to the top. So both of those should sort out the problem.
Hi, Anneliese. I'm suffering with bad pains in my joints. I'm currently going through the menopause. I've got low mood, anxiety, and I've now been told I have a cholesterol reading of 7.1. Any advice, please? The cholesterol is probably the first one, is it?
Well, actually, cholesterol will often rise, Patricia, during menopause, because cholesterol is a building block for our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone. It's also actually a building block for our stress hormone. So I think with menopause, a lot of women's cholesterol go up, and actually I see a huge amount of women coming in on a cholesterol tablet and antidepressants, and really what they've needed is HRT. So if you are actually bringing your cholesterol down when you're menopausal, you're probably depriving the body of the building blocks that it does need to make what's left over of your sex hormones. So I personally wouldn't feel too worried about the cholesterol in the short term. Obviously, if it becomes a long-term problem, it needs to be addressed. But in the short term, that's the perfectly good explanation. So what I'd address here would be the menopause, the sore joints, the mood, hot flushes, people's skin changes, libido drops, anxiety levels rise, sleep is affected, low energy. I think there's so many side effects from our dropping estrogen. I do think it makes us super powerful. In fact, one of my friends, Patricia, said that's what, she can't multitask anymore since she's perimenopausal. And she said, my God, that's what it must be like to have a man's brain all the time. So I think estrogen
no disrespect to all the men listening.
No disrespect. But let's face it, most men don't do great at multitasking.
Yeah, whereas the women do.
And women do. So estrogen really is a superpower of a hormone. So I think putting in plant-based hormones is the answer here. And getting back to that company, Revive Active, they do a menopause supplement that I've tried myself. It's very, very good. It's called MenoActive. And another lovely one that we sell here in the shop that we have gotten fantastic feedback over the years from is the Nutri-Advanced Perimenopause Support one. So either of those, if you can get the perimenopause support one, it's great, but it's a practitioner one, it might be hard to get your hands on. The MenoActive is fantastic. And what you're looking to do really is put back in plant-based hormones and support the body for the rest of the things as well. So like they're in both of those. There's ashwagandha, which is fantastic if you've got a very busy, stressful life. In the MenoActive, there's some DHA, which is great for dryness, also good for the brain and mood. Both of them have vitamin B6, which is great for the anxiety and the sore boobs. So they're kind of an all-over product, and I'd suggest staying on them for 2 months, and hopefully the joint pain will clear up. If not, HRT.
Okay, Anthony contacting us by email is currently going through chemotherapy for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Wants to know, is there anything you would recommend to boost his immune system?
Yeah, it's a difficult one when you're undergoing chemotherapy, Patricia, because doctors don't like you taking much. I do think a vitamin D is probably fine. Again, I'd run all of this by the doctors, by the oncologists. The best thing for supporting the immune system when you're having chemotherapy are the medicinal mushrooms. And they are perfectly safe to take alongside chemo because they don't interfere with the activity of the chemicals on the cancer tissue. So they're very safe, but doctors in Ireland wouldn't be very familiar with them. There's a company called HIFAS, H-I-F-A-S, Deterra, D-E-T-E-R-R-A. And they're starting to specialise in a range of mushrooms that have been used for integrative cancer therapy. And I've used them with a lot of my customers that have gone through chemo, and they definitely have reported way more energy, less hair loss for some, appetite, not getting sick, white blood cells remaining high, which is important because if they go too low, you can't continue to get your chemo for a while. And they're fantastic. I can highly recommend them. And I've got information here that I'd be happy to pass on to doctors if necessary, so that they can see that they're very safe to use as part of integrative therapy. They'll have to be ordered through a practitioner, and they are expensive, but they work. Yeah, they work. They absolutely work.
And Anthony, good luck on your treatment. Kathleen wants to know, would you have any advice to reduce sugar cravings? Is there anything you would recommend?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, Patricia, because I think the best thing to do really is to cut sugar out of your diet for 2 weeks, and then your body actually does readjust and your palate readjusts. But to help you along the way, a couple of things that can help. The first thing, I suppose, is chromium, and most people would be familiar with that if they go into a health shop, and cinnamon. Both of those can help reduce sugar cravings by helping improve insulin sensitivity. So they're both nice ones. Another one I absolutely love is berberine. I'd say a lot of people have been listening to the news coverage of the new Wegovy drug, which is the
diabetic one.
Yeah,
for weight loss. Yeah.
So there is another old an old diabetic supplement called metformin, which helps improve insulin sensitivity. And actually, that is wonderful for pre-diabetes and is good for weight loss. And berberine is a wonderful mimicker of that drug from a natural perspective. And we've had great success with that in the shop here for sugar cravings. So that's spelled B-E-R-B-E-R-I-N-E, berberine. So berberine, cinnamon, chromium. And the last thing then I'd recommend is NAC. So Viridian do a supplement called NAC+. NAC is N-acetylcysteine, and it's an amazing precursor for our detoxifying, anti-inflammatory and anti-aging hormone. So taking it is just fantastic when you're trying to lose a bit of weight because it'll keep the liver ticking over, it'll keep everything ticking over. And the Viridian NAC Plus also has cinnamon and chromium in it. So that's a great one. Take it on an empty stomach if you're trying to diet or if you want to stop sugar cravings. Okay,
and very finally, Bernadette in West Cork wants to know, do you do one-on-one consultations at the shop? She's interested in finding out about specific diets.
Yeah, I do, Patricia. I have a lot of clients come to me for one-on-ones, and I do my clinics normally Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays while I'm in the shop. I have a little clinic room, and so people come into the shop and but they need to book in advance.
Okay. All right. Listen, have a great week and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks a million. That is Anneliese Dressel of the Health Hub Times Square in Ballincollig, and this afternoon on her website, healthhubstore.com, she'll put up as heard on the radio because she gives it so much information. It can sometimes be hard to remember exactly what she said. So you can go to her website, healthhubstore.com, and I know John Paul also puts it up as a separate podcast this afternoon on C103 or wherever you get your podcasts from.